Welcome to Golden Goal TV. Yes, it's a Friday night and it is the return of your usual content. It's the Premier League preview show mixed in with a little bit of midweek action review. I'm Hubert and I am joined by a panel of supporters, the usual crew. George, how's it going?
Yeah, good mate. It's been a good week football wise. Yeah, I can't complain.
Yeah, it's been interesting, certainly a thriller. And of course, joining us following yesterday's interesting result, Newcastle's very own Nick. How are you?
I'm not too bad. The result could be should have been not amazing result last night, but we'll move on to Sunday.
We'll move on.
Ideally, I would have liked Newcastle, Falcons, and Newcastle not playing Sunday.
Well, luckily the coverage licensing is something we don't really review on this show, but we'll talk about the Everton game too. Don't worry, we will. You're only moving on slightly there, but we will talk about that and upcoming game against Tottenham as well. So let's first of all get straight into it. Hello to anyone if you're watching live or if you're watching on demand. Good to have you either way. Good to have your support. Remember, if you're subscribed to the channel, excellent. Remember to turn on the notifications so you don't miss when the stream begins. And if any extra bonus content drops, you will have it right there also. So let's begin. Let's talk about Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. George, we'll start with you. So, you've got Crystal Palace coming off the back of a defeat to Bournemouth, where, according to Palace fans, Palace looked absolutely pathetic. Wanting Roy out of their club following the Roy revolution that apparently was taking place last season, and even throwing plastic bottles and coins at Roy Hodgson, which I do not recommend, but there's one thing. And you've got Liverpool coming off the back of a win against Sheffield United, but maybe not a win with not a comfortable win, that being a 2-0 win. So based on that, do we think it will be a hammering for Palace, or do you think it'll be a narrow win for Liverpool? What's your thoughts?
First thing I want to touch on is those people throwing plastic bottles and stuff at Roy Hodgson. You're an absolute disgrace. Doing that to a 74-year-old man, I think, is absolutely disgusting. I think we can all have emotion in sport and football generally, and more ultimately in the Premier League. For throwing bottles at an old age pensioner, because that is what he is. There's no coming away from that. Yeah, he's a manager and it ain't going well. Like you, your family should be very embarrassed of you. And I don't think that I could have done a lot more into that. But when I heard it, I thought I felt disgusted myself. But I don't want to go too much on that because that gives them what they want. I don't think it'll be a battering because it's Palace at home as well. Like there's different for Palace. I don't think they'll win, but I can see it being like a 1 or 2-0 game for Liverpool. It's like I was saying in the group, mate. What did Palace expect? Like they brought Roy Hodgson in, and like you say, Roy's revolution, and he's had a bad few results again, but it's gone back to how it was. He's not gonna be playing ultra positive football. And like I say, people shouldn't be so disrespectful and turn their nose up at people like Brendan Rodgers. Like I say, and I know I threw Lampard into the mix as a bit of a throwaway comment, but when you look at it, mate, like Crystal Palace are a team who are middle half for the lower part for the league. They're not They're not going to break into that top eight. I'm sorry, they're not. And they're around the same sort of positions, I'd say, as I'd probably say they're similar to that, say, Fulham and teams like that, and maybe Bournemouth. Because I think Bournemouth and Forest, that sort of level, like they should just avoid relegation, but they're not going to break into the top half. So why are people turning that especially Crystal Palace fans turning their nose up at people like Brendan Rodgers? he won't take that job because he ain't going to leave Celtic again for a job like that. And that sounds disrespectful, but it's just levels. Like Graham Potter, I've heard link. No way, Graham Potter's got more of an ambition than that. But one person who does want a job, it would be his first job, is John Terry. And I know that sounds laughable, but why not? Like, do we think he'll relegate Palace? I don't know. But I don't see who else is out there, Hubert. You know what I mean? Like, who?
Frank Lampard is probably the best
I
option.
did say Lampard originally, and like as Lampard, Gerrard, not Gerrard, sorry, he's in Saudi, isn't he? Lampard needs to resurrect his career. He should have probably gone to Palace instead of going to Everton. I think he's been sold down the river by Chelsea and Everton. So I forgot who he was at then. I think Everton was the worst for him, but then look what he had to deal with. I know Deitch is doing well, but it's just Deitch. And it sounds like I'm really disrespecting Palace, but I'm just saying, like, ultimately, be realistic. Like, who are you going to get? You're moaning about Hodgson, fine. You moaned about Vieira when he tried to change everything. Like, he didn't. Let's be honest, I don't think, and I might be biased, but I don't think Vieira got enough time, personally.
Well, I think with Vieira, there were problems behind the scenes. That's why he left.
And the problem is Vieira is straight talker. So, and what I would like to see, Palace have got everything they could. Like, apart from having owners that probably invest. Like, say, it's hard for me to say because I'm looking at it from the outside. I'm not a Palace fan, but they're a team in London. They have a good fan base. But what do they do with it? Oh, they win a few games in the season. I think, oh yeah, that's an upset. You wouldn't want to go and play Palace. But apart from that, that's it. No, it's nothing else.
Well, you're also looking at this where, you're saying, managers have more ambition to go than going to Palace. And that's a point because, if a club wants a manager with ambition, the club needs to have ambition to begin with. And the one thing that I've heard from some Palace fans is that when they watch players play under Roy at the moment, there just seems no ambition there.
It comes from the manager. You know what I mean? Like, the ambition that Roy Hodgson will have is getting up every day and doing that job. He's 76 years or 74, 76 years old. You know what I mean? It's not, and I'm not being ageist, but I'm saying, and what I mean about ambition, like, let's have it right. If Graham Potter's sitting there and he say that, oh, Palace's job looked like it might come available, but West Ham job might come available in the next 12 months. What one are you taking?
Exactly.
It's not a question, is it?
You would take West Ham.
Yeah,
you
would not blink twice for that. Or say, or even the Spurs job. I know, all jokes aside, I know Postecoglou done all right, and since the other week, just don't let him walk your dogs because he can't hold on to a lead. But there's nothing to say that he'll be there in 18 months. But I think it's poison chalice if you go to Tottenham. But what I'm trying to say is there's these managers out there that will have a higher level. The only other one I thought of was John Eustace.
That's an interesting one.
Because he got treated disgusting at Birmingham and he was doing really well for them. But they're the sort of people surely Palace would be looking at. And I heard Simon Jordan, and I don't like Simon Jordan, but he was saying, like, Palace used to always be like a family feel to the club. And like, why don't they work with their youth academy? When they've done it before, they had people like Zaha and Nathaniel Klein. And they've got, they're not crap players that they've got now. You know what I mean? Like Eze, Elise, Edwards.
Eze's currently injured, which doesn't help them.
Yeah, you get what I mean? Like Mitchell,
Mitchell's now injured too.
Yeah.
And so is Decore's out for the season.
Yeah, but that's what I meant. Like, everyone gets injuries, you know what I mean?
So, what would be your prediction for the Liverpool game then?
I'm probably going to go 2-0. I know Klopp's moaning about his half-12 kickoff again, but
well, that's price.
What it is. He got a bit salty with the presenter, didn't he, on TNT? I did
Yep.
see that.
Amazon, you mean?
Oh, whatever it was. I
Hmm.
just saw it done. But yeah, I get both sides of that quickly before we move on, because they ask really stupid questions and say some stupid things, but he didn't need to be salty from the start with
Yeah,
me.
to be honest, they say these things in these questions because one, some people want to know the answers, and two, it gets a reaction that people watch.
Obviously, I know we'll probably cover this in a minute, but with the Arteta Ramsdale Raya triangle thing, they ask questions to get an answer, and if you say something, then they're like, oh, that. Or if you don't say something, so it's just their job, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's the job of a journalist at the end of the day is to ask a question to trigger a response or ask what the fan base wants to hear. What people want to hear when they
It
watch.
is. I will say it is interesting. I know we have Palace fans that watch the show, but it'd be interesting to hear your point of view. Like I've probably ripped Crystal Palace to shreds in that last 10 minutes. So if you disagree with me or agree with me, come on. Like, feel free to come on, like, and defend your team.
Well, absolutely. As I said before, the best way to get an opinion out of somebody about a football club is for your club supporter to be on there. So if you are a Palace fan and you want to respond, then come on, because at the end of the day,
I would like to have that conversation. Like, I think the Crystal Palace debate and about Crystal Palace as a football club, I think it's a big talking point at the minute.
Well, it is. Every Premier League club is a talking point, especially when you get their supporters on. Let's move on to you, Nick. And the point I've got for you again about, you can give us your prediction on Palace Liverpool, but also, Palace have signed some youngsters, Franca and Amadar, I believe. They've signed them, and one other thing I've heard Palace fans mention is that they are not playing them, even though they've signed them. Should Roy give these youngsters a chance, especially in the next few fixtures where Palace are, let's face it, going to be underdogs, so they might as well have a go.
Well, the next 3 games they've got Liverpool, Man City, and Brighton. The next 3.
They should beat Brighton.
Uh,
Just after Europa League, that's why I say.
maybe.
No, it's not. It's the mid. So not this mid. It's midweek coming.
Thursday, the 21st.
21st, yeah.
So that would be when Brighton are not in the League Cup, so yeah, that will not be after any games.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because Newcastle played the 19th away in the League Cup to Chelsea.
Oh, good luck! You're going to win that.
I don't know, mate. They're not.
We'll talk Newcastle in a bit. But move on. What's your thoughts on Palace?
I think Palace the last few games have been playing awfully and lack of invention, and they're just being poor. There's youngsters there that they could give a chance to, but they haven't. So I think Palace are going to struggle a bit. Liverpool, I thought Liverpool would win against Sheffield United, but I thought they would win by more than they did. I think the change of manager affected that. Liverpool did have quite a few chances that they didn't take. Like Darwin wasn't clinical, Salah wasn't clinical, so they made a bit hard work a bit than they did. So, but I am going to think Liverpool are going to win this match on Saturday, and I think they'll win 3-0.
I think that's a bit harsh on Sheffield United, to be honest. Like, I watched that.
I mean,
If they had a better striker, Liverpool would have struggled. Like,
yeah, they've not done too badly, Sheffield United. I think, bearing in mind, Burnley put 5 past Sheffield United, and Liverpool only put 2 past them. I think what
people forget, and I was having this conversation with someone at the Emirates last week. So Sheffield United got promoted with a very good side. It was mainly a championship side, and then they sold their 2 best players just before
one they sold to Marseille. Was it Marseille they sold 1 to?
Yeah. So
don't know.
and they never replaced them. So like he was always like it says it all when Paul Heckingbottom comes out of that. Yeah, he did need to go in that, but some people don't blame him as much. And then if against Liverpool, if it weren't for Van Dijk and that, even Matt said like if Archer took his chances, it could be a different story. So,
Mm.
and like you say, they just got battered by Burnley, so they ain't gonna have any confidence at the club anyway.
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't think Liverpool were that great, and Salah he got took off after a little while anyway to rest him, and even breaking it down even more, Darwin's lucky he didn't get sent off.
Mm.
Like perhaps he should have been.
Well, before we go any further, Abdi has also joined us. Abdi.
Hello. How's it going?
Some normality. That's all I do.
How you doing? How you doing?
Not too bad. How's everyone?
Don't like all this. I don't like all this positive Liverpool talk, mate.
Okay, well, Abdi might bring us back down to earth. Abdi, do you think Palace will beat Liverpool?
Goal 6-0.
I wish, but I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think Liverpool will blow them away by any means.
That's
I do
why-
think it'll. I do think it'll be a close run game, and I think Liverpool will edge it, but I don't think it's going to be like a 2-3-0 battering or something. 3-4-0 battering.
We've
I
had you
think it'll
on.
be like maybe 2-1 or something. Yeah.
We've had
So
you
what
on
were you
for.
saying, Sid?
We've had you on 2 minutes, and you've agreed with me already. That's what I like. You know what I mean?
You know me. I'm
Oh,
here to please.
less.
And I did mention the John Terry talk about taking over at Palace, what we spoke about.
It's not about show. Like I said, there's not exactly many managers that are going to be banging
I
down the
honestly,
door.
it's like we're going back. I don't see many people walking in that room, knocking on the door, and saying, "Oh, I want that Palace job." I really don't.
No, I think people need to be realistic what they'll be going into, and at the end of the day, I don't mean this rudely to anybody,
Because
but
they're part of Palace are owned by the owners, the American owners. They own quite. They're part of a group of different clubs. One in Brazil, Leon.
Leon
So
ain't
they're
doing
not-
so hot either anyway.
No.
So
I was going to say
No.
Leon are
Yeah.
having a terrible season this season.
rock
Don't
bottom
get them.
apparently.
Yeah,
But
I
if they
get that.
if they end up in the playoff relegation playoff, they can't play. They can't use the home ground.
Because of T Swift.
because of what?
Taylor Swift's performing a concert at their stadium. So if they're in the relegation playoff, they wouldn't be able to get a home game at their own ground.
And people wonder why the broadcasters aren't fighting for the French league broadcasting rights. Anyway, there we go. We move on though. The next game is Bournemouth versus Manchester United. So Abdi, will start with you.
Perfect timing, huh?
Bournemouth coming off the back of a win at Palace that we just talked about. Man United coming off the back of a 2-1 win against Chelsea.
United.
Could have been more than 2-1.
Could have been. It should have been. Should have been.
Good old Scott McTominay. Hey, if he's finally playing better for you. Come on now. Come
Okay.
on.
So let me start off with my thoughts first on the game on Wednesday. Scott McTominay, yes, he's been doing well and somehow is our top goal scorer. But goals are one thing, and they're very appreciated, and we need as many as we can get because we're not getting enough in terms of from the forward line and from other players in the team. So goals, as much as it is, yes, that's a great thing. But barring the goals, if you just take that away, he doesn't really offer too much else. With all due respect, and I want him to do well, and I'm backing him to do well, and hoping he does well. And
He won the
shows
game.
everyone he did win the game, and I'm not going to take that away from him. But aside from that, if McTominay's not scoring, he ain't doing much else, which is the harsh truth of the matter. He was supposedly out of the door on in the summer, so he's come back in and he's getting the opportunity to get a run in the team. But yeah, as I said, if he's not scoring, then he ain't doing too much else. But as long as he's scoring, then afterwards, I'm happy. But aside from that, I just want to preface before I go in deep dive into anything further. Everything that I've said, barring United and uh, the whole negative thing around them, there are still very much so concerns within the team and within how things can progress further throughout the season. But bearing that in mind, taken into this game, I thought that we done pretty well. And it was refreshing to watch a game where they were looking refreshed, revitalized, re-energized, and seemed hungry for everything. And that's all I really wanted to see from United. That's pretty much what I just want to see. I don't want to see what happened at St James Park the other week, but as long as United can continue to do what they're doing, was it perfect? By any means, no. I still feel like we're too open in terms of the midfield and setup there. And I feel like if we, no disrespect to you, but if we were playing a better side that could finish off their chances, then afterwards I feel like we would have been punished further because I feel like you did have some good opportunities to score and potentially nick a result from us. But yeah, we're just thankful that you guys couldn't finish off your dinner either. As for United, in terms of going forwards, I feel like genuinely that game probably could have been 6 or 7 for us. We were creating so many chances that it was just refreshing to see, but at the same time, I do want to see like the likes of Hoyland bagging in the Premier League. I'm still patient with him because he's still young and he's shown what he can do. I just don't feel like we're using him to his full potential at the moment in terms of I don't think we're getting the most out of him, but he's still putting in a shift within the team and helping out. Um, Garnacho and Anthony, I felt like they both had very good games. I do want to see them not be as wasteful in terms of they did have quite a few chances each. Um, and I want to see the front line taking more chances. I want to see them chipping in with more goals and assists. Because that's the name of the game. You want to see them create all these chances, but they need to put them away at the end of the day. Aside from that, I thought it was a pretty good game, pretty good, like pretty enjoyable to watch as a United fan, and it's refreshing. As for Chelsea, um, yeah, I don't know what to say. Was I surprised with that? Honestly, I wasn't because I was going into that game saying either this is a draw or we win. And I said that on the Monday show. I said that going into this game, I don't think we're losing. And I was correct because I just feel whenever it comes to Chelsea and United, I just feel like even when you come to Old Trafford, it ain't going to be easy, regardless of how we're doing. And I saw some Chelsea fans on social media. The
Astrid.
I love. No, I didn't see her. She wasn't. But I saw just other people that the troll accounts. I just love it when they think, oh, we're gonna go to Old Trafford. They're horrible. We're gonna batter them. We're gonna smash them. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do. I'm like, you do know who you guys still are. Remember that. Without trying to disrespect you here, but it's just the way they were talking. But that's why I was like, I wouldn't really take any shit from them, regardless of what they say. If an Arsenal fan's saying it, fair enough. They're kind of warranting it. Maybe not at Old Trafford, but in general, if it was at Emirates, they're warranting it. But City, sadly, they probably can say something. Because if it's Spurs, maybe I don't know, probably not. But
No, mate, they can't say nothing.
they
Jesus.
can't. But okay, if it's Liverpool, they probably can say something. But like for Chelsea, nah, I wasn't having it. But
1 point out of 50.
but yeah, aside from that, good result, good 3 points, and we move. And as for United today, manager of the month, Eric Ten Hag for November, player of the month, Harry Maguire for the month of November, and goal of the month, Alejandro Garnacho. A hat trick of awards. So hopefully we can build on this. But with United, people go quiet when United win, but when they lose, it's a crisis, and there's like they're waiting for the next result. So if we lose on Saturday, crisis is back on. Or if we don't lose on Saturday, then they're waiting for the next one because I will tell you this now. It'll probably be either next Wednesday or Tuesday. I can't remember which day, but the Bayern Munich game
Tuesday.
when we probably inevitably, most likely, get dumped out of the Champions League, sadly, or the Liverpool game if we somehow move a miracle and get
Yeah,
through somehow. But I'm not
I
really counting on that. Or the Liverpool game. Already circle that in because that's going to probably be they're going to be talking shit about that afterwards anyway. But to me, that performance didn't look like a team that had thrown their manager under the bus and had lost the dressing room. It looked like a team that just looked a bit revitalized and re-energized. And maybe it had something to do with Scott McTominay saying they had a lighter training session. And they haven't been going so full throttle, so they can actually have some rest and build up and prepare properly. But yeah, that's previewing the Bournemouth game quickly. Bournemouth are doing very well for themselves right now, and they're actually picking up some good results. So I don't think it's going to be an easy game, and I think it might be a more trickier game and can cause us more of a problem tomorrow than the Wednesday game. So I think I'm going to go for 2-1 again to United. Yeah, hopefully 3 points.
Okay, there we go. There's Abdi's little bit. Now then, George, your thoughts?
Where do I start? Well, I'll start going backwards a bit. I believe in you, Abdi. You got one job, mate. One job against Liverpool.
Mate, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I'm taking a long walk on that day. I've really myself.
I don't. Basically, it's not an easy win for you. So let's see if it works.
Okay.
And I think
it's an easy win for Liverpool.
Yeah, and I actually think you'll beat Bayern Munich, but I said that last week.
It doesn't matter what we do.
It's just
the others.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like so, yeah. Obviously, United. They've got. I thought they'd win. Ronaldo's. He's a bit like Ronaldo, isn't he, mate? Like if
he is. He genuinely is.
There's no point of it. If he don't
pretty
score,
much.
He's probably got a better goal record than Ronaldo did last time he was at United, though, as well. But
I'm not sure about that, but yeah, he's doing well for himself.
But yeah, I think he's a decent player, McTominay. I thought he'd be out the door. To be honest, I thought he'd end up at something like West Ham or.
They got JW Pringle or JWP, sorry.
Yeah, what a guy. So yeah, Chelsea. Oh, Chelsea. You just can't take the man out of Spurs, can you? Or the Spurs out of the man. I nearly dropped an Astrid lyric then. I was just like, we spent £1 billion. But
well, it doesn't matter how much we spent. I said this before. It's not how much you spend; it's how you spend it.
I can't work Chelsea out, to be honest. That's just me being honest. Like, obviously, you got a point against us.
We are as inconsistent as it gets. Is the simple answer.
And then, like, you became like Arsenal 2.0 because like you just done results for us after that Arsenal game. Like, you got something at City. You ruined Tottenham. Like, it's your fault Tottenham were in the mud. Like, and then you just went back to being Chelsea. I was like, I don't get it. Like, obviously we know they need a striker. Like, we know that. And Miss Jackson ain't good enough. He's a good second forward, but they've got Everton, I think, at the weekend. Good luck with that. I don't. It's really hard to say that I could sit here and just banter all the time, but from a football point of view, I don't really know where they're going wrong. Apart from because in that Man United game, Man United could have won at least. Could at least scored 3 or 4 at least. And Man United are not they're not known for being high scoring at the minute, so it's a bit weird with Chelsea. But I think for me, like, their goal is just to get back into Europe completely. It worked like right at the top 4 of Chelsea will not get top 4. but obviously financially, just being in Europe for Chelsea they need that. Yeah, it's probably the only team that's actually stumped me what to even suggest or even to have an opinion of because I just don't really know what they can do apart from spending money on a striker in January. But then I think people think, oh yeah, they've got a striker, and then miraculously think everything's fixed, and it's not. So Man United, they've got Bournemouth. I think they might beat Bournemouth, but it'll be a good game actually. To be like because like Abdi said, both teams are playing quite well. Bournemouth beat Newcastle, didn't they, Nick? Just thought I'd drop that in.
Oh no.
So God, they don't do well against the lower teams, do they? Anyway, but I do agree with Abdi. I think if they're wanting to go forward, Man United, the front three need to feature a lot more. But I'll end it on a positive. Abdi, 3 points behind
God.
City. They're there
3
for the
points behind City, indeed.
yeah, so that's got to be your goal. Treble winners City, 3 points behind them. Level on points.
Who's in
Tottenham,
crisis now?
obviously.
Who's level of title challenge in Tottenham and treble in the 3 points behind treble in the City?
This is
Who's in crisis now?
That's what I mean. This is how mad a football season is. Like, and I say this, like, a team can be in crisis, whatever way you want to look at it, because they lose a couple of games. But then they can win, say, 2 or 3, and then you look and say, hold on a minute. Like, we've got Villa on Saturday and Liverpool. If we lost both for them, everyone say, oh, that's it, Arsenal at title race. No, nowhere near it. It you just got to wait and see, really. Like, and congratulations to Ten Hag, Maguire, and Garnacho on the trophies. It is the only thing they'll win this season, though.
Never say never, but probably, yeah.
I couldn't even remember if you were still in the Carabao Cup. That was what I was wondering.
No, unfortunately. Nick, don't pipe up, mate. You
Basically,
sit back down. You ain't winning here.
all the big teams didn't fancy it, Nick. Oh, sound of silence there. Oh, sound of silence there.
I just think with the draws, they're just trying to deny Newcastle when doing anything in either cup.
I suppose, mate, you've got your Europa League to think of coming up, didn't you? So.
Well, if Newcastle
we'll move on to Newcastle a bit later. Let's stick to, are we done on Bournemouth United?
Yeah, I think it'll be 3-1 United.
Okay, Nick, let's get your thoughts on this then.
So Man United, they did play well Wednesday night and got a good win. They should have scored more goals with the chances they had. Chelsea created quite a few chances as well, so it was open at both ends. So just Chelsea didn't have a striker to put the ball back in there. So yeah, I think Man United needed the confidence boost of that result after the previous result and performance when they were awful, and apparently there was leaks saying dressing room of Ten Hag's lost half the dressing room, which resulted in quite a few media outlets being banned by Man United.
Apparently so. They deserve it.
But I do think Bournemouth got a good win against Palace, in good performance. So I think Saturday, Man United are gonna carry on their momentum from midweek. I think they're gonna get a win, and I'm hoping for a 2-0 win for Man United, even though I did said 3-0 on Super 6, I think.
Okay, interesting. Right. So let's move on to the next game then. And we will go to... and I quickly picked this game mainly because it's it's an interesting debate. I'm talking Wolves Forest here. So Wolves, let's go to Abdi starting with this one. Wolves coming off the back of a 1-0 win against Burnley. Forest though going into this game off of the back of a thumping by Fulham with Steve Cooper's job once again under question. Abdi,
They were thrashed. They were thrashed 5-0. Yeah. Wolves doing well for themselves. A lot of people from the start of the season thought, "Ah, that's it. They're going down. They're finishing rock bottom." But same man who saved Bournemouth last season is here to steady the ship for Wolves, and Wolves have been doing well for themselves, and arguably have been done dirty by VAR quite a few times this season. Probably, if anyone should be the most aggrieved out of all of the teams in the league, probably should be Wolves. Cost
Well,
them
they've
quite a
had
few.
3 penalties given again. Two free penalty decisions gone against them on bar.
Yeah,
this
they've
season.
got quite a few things go against them. But it's at Molineux, right?
Wolves are home, yeah.
Yeah. I will be back in Wolves for this one. I feel Forest off. It's an easy choice. I know saying Wolves will win, but um, I believe who was it? Worrell and McKenna were both taken out of training the other day. I don't know what was the cause of it, but yeah, maybe it was back off the. It said it wasn't disciplinary or anything like that, but it was something. But yeah, I do think Wolves will win. I think it'll be 1-1 probably. I'm not sure. I think Forest will try and stop the leak of goals, but I do think Wolves will still manage to edge it out and get the 3 points.
Okay, we'll move on to you, George, then. Steve Cooper's job at Forest, how safe is it, really?
Yeah, I think it's safe enough, to be honest. I think everyone just throws the toys out the pram and gets a bit over dramatic when the team loses 5-0. He did come out and say that he didn't. I don't know what the fans done. They were saying that he was saying that him and he didn't deserve that. And I think the fans might have clapped him, and I think he was saying that they let them all down and stuff. So I think Steve Cooper's quite a good manager, to be honest. Forest have that in them, like to have a really horrific game. And sometimes you just have games where everything just clicks for the other team. Like Jimenez getting 2 goals, I was happy for him. Like it's been a long journey back in it for him since David Luiz played head tennis with his head. So like fair play to him. See, I fancy Wolves just because I think Wolves at home are a very good side. And I've seen them play recently. So, but I do think Forest will want to bounce back. So I'm gonna probably go for a 1-1 Wolves Forest.
Okay, 1-1. Nick, what about you?
I think Forest will want to bounce back from midweek and their overperformance and being hammered by Fulham. But that was good news about Raul Jimenez getting his 2 goals, because I actually thought he wouldn't play again after what happened against Arsenal. So that's good. But Wolves this season have been very strong at home, and Gary Neal has got them playing good football. Mind you, they scraped a win against Burnley, but 1 goal was enough for them, especially when Wan Yi-Chang still only blanked once at home this season. So I am going to go for 2-1 win for Wolves on this one.
Right, there we go. We move
I
on.
will say that Matt Turner must be shaking his head after being dropped for that goalkeeper, and then he concedes 5. So if Matt Turner don't get picked again, I'll be like, he must be thinking that. Well, Might as well just stayed as Arsenal's number 3.
Yeah, you will wonder. Okay, we move on to the 5:30 game. It is Aston Villa versus Arsenal, and it's a
Main
huge one.
event.
It's a huge one, George. Aston Villa coming off the back of beating the Premier League champions Manchester City, and Arsenal coming back of a very, very challenging game away at Luton Town. So, take it away.
Yeah, I'll talk about Luton first. All I've got to say is God save our Declan, mate. Where he's got to be the only player that I think Arsenal bought that's settled in that quick and made us a hell of a lot better, like in midfield. He looks like he's played there for years for me. I said like on the show, like, it wouldn't be as easy as everyone thought. Like I didn't think it'd be 4-3. Don't get me wrong. Not good for the blood level and for the sugar level. It's not good for it. So I don't even know where to start with that Luton game. There's so much. I'll start with the elephant in the room because everyone knows I've been in Raya's corner. He had a couple of bad mistakes in that game. He should have saved 2 of them at least. I think the first goal was Martinelli's fault. He should have tracked his man a bit better, but he didn't. So whatever. I mean, people say Raya should be dropped for Ramsdale Saturday.
Drop it.
But you do that, and then it's the same thing. Like, so because then you've got two goalkeepers that when they make a mistake are going to be that frightened to make a mistake, and it will happen. So for me, like I've said very publicly, just stop banning on about Arsenal fans need to get a grip. Stop banning on saying, "Oh well, he's this, he's that, he's that." Arteta's obviously picked his number 1, which is David Raya. I think what we can see. I'll say that, and Cole Hines will play on Saturday or something. So just get behind whoever the players are instead of slagging the players off during the game. Maybe actually watch the game, Arsenal fans, and then I know Raya made mistakes, but every goalkeeper makes mistakes, and I'm not excusing him. What I'm trying to say is, I remember watching Aaron Ramsdale last season at Brighton and at Brentford this season. So he's not, and anyone who nicks baubles off a Christmas tree, I don't trust them. So. And his dad does podcasts. Like, if he wants to come on here, he's fine, but he probably won't be. But I don't know, mate. To be honest, like, do I think Ray is better than Ramsdale? Tiny bit. But when you look at the other teams, Liverpool had Millionaire and bought in Addison, massive jump. City had Joe Hart and bought in Edison, massive jump. Does Raya and Ramsdale film with that? No. So I've got a feeling Ramsdale goes in January. He won't go Newcastle.
Newcastle.
No, he won't go Newcastle. There's no point. Because if he goes Newcastle, what is the point? Because he'd be playing for a couple of months and Pope would be back.
Never know.
And Arsenal have said that they will only sell. That it won't be a loan deal, according to people near the club. So I do find it funny. Apparently, there's a lot of rumours down, and if Newcastle come in, Arsenal wants 70 million.
Okay.
But they won't.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. So yeah, can whistle for that. That'd be cool. We would have got nearly 100 million off Newcastle for Ramsdale and Willock. But yeah, but with Raya, I think he'll play Saturday. I think he's just got to get behind him. So I think it was you, Abdi, you were saying that Raya don't make those extravagant saves.
Mm-hmm.
So Ramsdale makes those TV saves where Raya doesn't. Like the Wolves game last week, he saved us. And I just think it's I agree now. I tried to play benefit of the doubt and thought, oh, Arteta's put himself in a position he probably didn't need to. But I trust Arteta. Like, anyone who's questioning him, yeah, you have the right to. You have the opinion and the ability to. But just remember, before Saturday, Arsenal are top of the league again. They're through in the group stage. They're in the next round of the Champions League. They're in a healthy place. So all Arteta wants is to make us better. I think people need to kind of remember that. And then talking about people's opinions, I'm proving everybody wrong apart from myself. Havertz done it again. He scored again. Since he played at left back for Germany, he's like a new man. So I think we've actually found his place now in the team. Like he can, when he plays in the midfield role, he just goes behind Jesus, and then has them late runs, and you're seeing it. Like scored against Brentford, Luton, scored in the Champions League. So yeah, he's doing quite well now. I don't think he starts Saturday though. I think you'll see Declan and Jorginho playing that one. And then obviously you've got the winner with Declan Rice. He's just everywhere. Like I don't understand how he gets from one place to another that quick, and he just don't seem tired. So I think I will say I think England are very very lucky to have a two midfield of Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. For me in the England team, it's you play players around them.
So what do you think is going to happen tomorrow then?
I honestly don't know. Like full credit to Villa. I I don't think they're in a title race. I think they're battling for top four. But that doesn't mean I think I'm more leaning to like a 1-1 because at Villa Park they're a lot different. I think it's their away form that might affect them. So it's going to be a very hard game, but they did put a lot of effort in that Man City game. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'll probably go 1-1.
Okay, let's move on to Abdi. What are your thoughts?
Where to begin? I'll just briefly touch on the Luton game. It was a very hectic game. I wasn't expecting it to be that chaotic in terms of scoreline, but I did say Arsenal come out with the win in the end, just about. Just about. Towards like 9th minute, I was just like, they're going to score here. I just felt it coming. I was like, it's building, it's built. When you're a neutral, you can sit back and sort of watch the game without any real like emotion. You can just sort of feel it differently. Whereas if I was an Arsenal fan, I was in that moment, I'd be panicking and stressing, and energy building up, and then releasing it when Rice finds the back of the net. But aside from that, I feel like Arsenal did what they needed to do. The mistakes didn't help, and I've mentioned it time and time again, as you know, and said it from the start. Like it ain't gonna be a good idea. It don't work. I didn't say that because I was like just for the sake of saying it. I said it out of experience, and I don't need to continue further on. Just let it be. If Raya's number one, keep him number one, and make sure that's known. Unfortunately, you just got to say someone's number one and someone's number two. If Ramsdale has to be number two, then so be it. You need to make that crystal clear to everybody, because don't do anyone good saying, "I've got two number ones." You ain't. You've got one number one or one number two. There ain't such a thing as two number ones. Just don't work. Okay. Going on tomorrow. Ooh, controversial opinion, but I think Arsenal might actually edge it. I think it'll be a close game. I think Arsenal and Villa's home streak of winning games. I think I go back to what George just said about them expending the energy against City. And I feel like Arsenal could come in there and do their job and try and do it professionally and get it done. I don't think it will be like a blowout. I think it will be a close run affair, but yeah, I think I'm going to edge it to Arsenal for a win tomorrow.
I do
Yeah.
say that with the situation, like, and that's not me disrespecting Villa. I just don't think they've got too higher games because Arsenal play a little bit like City as well. With and City are one of going to be doing that pressing. Like I think they're doing really well, Villa. But yeah, like Abdi said, it won't go that well. Like if they're You've got to think they haven't got the biggest squad in the world either. So I don't know.
Listen, if I could have things go my way, I know Georgie boy's not going to want to hear this, but out of the teams that are in that top 3, 4 positions, if any of them could win the title, and it's not Man United, then I'd rather see Aston Villa win it out of all of them. But the likelihood of that happening isn't that high. I think, as George said, they probably will be battling for top 4, and I feel like I've mentioned previously their away record ain't the best. They are a bit mixed, and Villa Park could be their fortress as long as they're picking up the good away points from other grounds, like towards the bottom of the table. Then afterwards, it could see them in a healthy position to get potentially into a title race. But I think it's just one step too far. You never know. Strange things have happened. Stranger things have happened. But I'd probably say Arsenal are my next sort of, sadly, the preference out of those sort of teams. As much it pains me to say, George. It pains me to say.
I will say though, if Arsenal get a result at Villa Park before we move to Nick, that's a massive statement for me. Because, like I say, when your teams around you are dropping points, all you can do is maximise on it. And you know what? Obviously, we won't talk about the Newcastle game, but apart from that, we haven't really. Apart Tottenham, Fulham, and Newcastle, I think the only ones we've dropped points at. So, yeah, getting a result of Villa, that you win titles on some results like that. So I don't like saying that soon because I've said it all along. I just don't think we win it, but I'm here to be proved wrong.
Okay, so we move on to Nick. Will Villa edge it? Will Arsenal edge it, or will it be a draw? What's your thoughts?
I actually thought Villa would do Man City if midweek.
Yeah,
You're one of them.
On referring to because I just had this instinct with Super Six when I was doing it. I thought Villa would win, and then I listened to Villa game was on 5 Live and listened to it, and they just totally they were excellent, and Man City got outplayed, and how Villa didn't score more than one goal, I don't know. But they did their job, and that was a 14th win in a row at home for Villa, which equals their record. So obviously this weekend is going to be, so tomorrow's game's good. Tomorrow Villa Arsenal will be very interesting, and it's going to be, let's see if Villa can perform like they did against Man City, or would it be too tight, or would fatigue might kick in and Arsenal might dominate. I'm going to say, probably going to edge towards a narrow Arsenal win here. I'm probably going to say 2-1 to Arsenal.
Alrighty then, we move on to Sunday's games now, and we will talk Luton, Manchester City first. So then, we'll go to George on this one. So Luton at home, scary. They can't be underestimated, I think, from what we've seen. Man City, I mean, they're coming off the back of a bad loss. That should not have happened to them. That's what their fans would be saying. So, will Luton cause Man City problems, or will Man City bounce back? What do you think?
I think a bit of both, really. I think Luton can cause some problems, but I do think City will bounce back. Their fans are saying they lost because they didn't have Rodri. Bit like those crying Newcastle fans that said they got injuries. I just think you've got to look at the bigger picture with Luton against Man City. Man City's bench is probably worth more than the whole of Luton. So it all depends. Like they can't. One of their players is ineligible as well, isn't he? Kabure. Is it Kabure?
yeah. I think so.
He's from City, isn't he? He's on loan.
Yeah,
Or something.
one of them's loan
Yeah.
from City. I think it
So
might be him.
that'll be a bit of a miss for them. Um, like I've said earlier before, they got a point against Liverpool. United only beat them 1-0. Tottenham were lucky against them. They're not getting smashed, so I'm not. I don't know. I'm just not expecting the same thing. And it don't matter. Like Man City, we've seen Man City been in this form before. They could still go on and win 14 games on the trot. So I'm not really worried about. I stop worrying about Man City then when it becomes mathematically impossible. Um, what do I reckon? I reckon it'll probably be 3-1 City.
Okay, Abdi, we'll move on to you. We've talked about teams. What do you think's going to happen in the game?
We have City were dog-walked on Wednesday, so I think they're going to want to take out their anger and frustration on poor little Luton Town. Seeing Haaland in that tiny stadium, and he'll be angry. But I thought they would have been angry after the Tottenham game, to be fair. But they couldn't take that anger through to the Villa game. But to be fair, I did say Villa would win. 3-1 maybe, but it didn't turn out the way I was thinking. But 1-0 still happened. As for the game itself, yeah, I do think City will bounce back and try and avenge that defeat. I don't think. Here's the thing: with the way City are going, they are. I don't think they are the same City from last season. I know people say, "Oh, wait for them to get into gear," and I've seen it too many times where I say, "Wait for them to get into gear." But I feel like in terms of their team, they have lost players like Gundogan. De Bruyne is injured. Roger was out for one game, but like Gundogan's a big miss for them in terms of someone who could, when people aren't there, could fill in anywhere and sort of give them that winning mentality
Do
and
you
move
think
them
Gundogan
forward.
was a bigger loss for Man City than they thought it would be?
Massive loss, a massive loss, and I
Mahrez.
rejoiced when he left. Mahrez, they didn't replace him. Sterling, and I know people will say they'll say Sterling, but
It's still
still they
goals.
haven't really replaced him.
Even Cancelo.
Cancelo, yeah, that's another one. I was thinking, I'm trying to think.
Possibly
They've lost
Leon Sonic. They've not replaced him properly either. Maybe.
they've lost a lot of players recently, and they haven't really replaced them. Like they've played flipping Rico Lewis, John Stones, and who Julian Alvarez in their midfield three against Villa. No wonder why they didn't win.
One
They struggled. They had Matthias Nunez, Mateo Kovacic, and what's his face, Calvin Phillips. See, I'm forgetting them because they're just irrelevant. They don't use them. They have those midfielders, they don't use them, but they're not at that caliber as well. But
Mm.
still, Gundogan.
I do think they've missed John Stones. So
He
like,
he was playing though. If they
yeah,
hadn't
no,
missed him in terms of centre back, but like
yeah, that's what I meant as a centre half going forward into that midfield, right? Like, not to play him in that like sitting position. But I
hmm,
was hearing someone was saying that the reason they don't want to see Kovacic playing because apparently he'd replace Alvarez's role.
maybe I don't know, but
So
I was saying, I don't know if this is the same City that you'll see them going on like just turn it on and just like 14 games unbeaten, winning it all, just smashing teams left, right, and centre. I still think they will be up there because you can't really write them off completely, but I don't think it'll be in the same sort of manner. I still think they will be dropping points. You know, they've got some.
yeah.
They've still got to go Tottenham away. They've still got to go to Anfield. You know, so they will be dropping points here and there. And they've dropped quite a lot. What is it? 15 in the last nine. So it's like, yeah, I don't think it's the same City. I still think they'll win on Sunday, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tougher game for them. But I would say City win 3-0. Yeah.
Okay, Nick, we'll move on to you then. What are your predictions? will it be a win for City? I mean, can Luton only do so much against the big teams, or could City be in for a bit of a trouble?
Well, I think Man City will want to have a reaction because the last 2 games have not been good enough, not been acceptable for them. So I think they want reaction, better performance. Luton have caused problems to all the big teams at home so far, so I probably think they will cause problems for them with the way they play. But I think eventually Man City will wear them down, and because I think Luton put a lot of effort in against Arsenal. So I am thinking Man City to win 3-1.
Okie dokie. So Man City winning
I
this.
say about Luton, they did actually rest their best striker against Arsenal.
That is quite
Carlton Morris.
Yeah.
Be interesting what happens if he does play. Well, moving on. Let's move on to talk Everton, Chelsea. More Everton because we've discussed Chelsea.
You want to kick us off, buddy?
It's a simple one, really. I don't know what's going to happen because you can't predict Chelsea games at this point. We are as inconsistent as can be, is the simple fact. At the moment, there's no consistency. There's no the way of predicting the way Chelsea games will go. I think from a Chelsea point of view, at the moment, it's the same old Chelsea problems. Nothing's changing there. When it comes to anything remotely returning to a striker, Christopher Nkunku still needs to be assessed unlikely to be involved against Everton. So, we're not expecting much there. Marlon Gusto might be available, might not be, needs to be reassessed. I don't know. I'd love a win, obviously, but you're looking at Everton. They're coming off the back of two successive victories, and it's at Goodison as well. So I think if we do get anything, it will be a very hard-fought win. I think if we do win, it's going to be like a 2-1 win. It's not going to be anything massive, but I wouldn't be surprised if we probably see a 1-1 draw between the two teams. Everton winning is not out of the question. I think more likely Everton might win than us, but I'll always back my team, and I'm going to say hopefully that we can at least pick up a draw. It's a 2-1 win would be good, but it's just impossible to tell really with Everton on a bigger run of form, and they need it, bearing in mind their point deduction. And for us, like I said, there's no consistency. It's tricky to tell what's going to happen game by game. It's a weird season where you never know what's going to happen with Chelsea at the moment. It's hard to predict anything. You just have to hope for the best result possible, really. And that's not a loss, really, at this point, is probably the best result. So let's start with George.
I feel like I've time travelled.
Why?
Like hearing Chelsea fans saying, I can see getting a draw against Everton. But
that's the way things are at the moment. That's just literally what it is at the moment. The way our form is, that's what I envision.
Ain't that embarrassing?
I wouldn't say it's embarrassing because it's the way Chelsea are at the moment.
I just think it's a realistic reflection of where one is.
I don't go for embarrassing because really, which club hasn't had periods like this? You're telling me that other big clubs have not had moments like that? I wouldn't say it's any more embarrassing than any other club of Chelsea's stature who's had the same bad moments.
But they haven't spent, and I know you're going to say, doesn't matter.
Hang on a second. Let's go for we're going for this. How much Chelsea have spent, and I've said this before. You can spend however much money you want, but if the investments you've bought in don't work out, then it doesn't matter whether you paid 1 million in total or 1 billion. It just makes no difference.
For me, it does.
It doesn't.
I think
does not make a difference because it doesn't matter. It's
one second, just to circle back. I think it's more embarrassing if you're not really realistic and accepting of the situation. I feel like if it's more realistic and accepting the situation, I've seen more Chelsea fans more in denial and rather than sort of realizing where they are in terms of
I genuinely
what they're
think the
getting.
whole.
I understand there's
I
the
genuinely
period where
think
you
throwing the amount of money that Chelsea spent is just an easy way to go because
But
it's
it's
not.
not. It's
It
a
is.
debate, and you're getting defensive
I'm
because
not
it's your
getting
team.
defensive, but I'm
Why
not getting.
not? Like, if you're gonna if you want to have that debate, then you've got to let other people say it. Like, you've spent all that money,
It
you
doesn't.
can't say. But it does matter, Hubert. You can't
they
say it does.
You
You
can
can't
if
here's
say
the
the
it
two
thing.
doesn't
Here's the
benches
thing.
does
matter.
Here's
not
the thing.
work
Here's the
out.
thing. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. They
We could have
have
spent
spent a lot.
any
They
amount of
have
money
spent. They have spent a lot of money, and they have spent it very quickly, very quickly.
and it
But
failed.
also,
That's a
and it's
simple
no, no.
fact.
I wouldn't say it's failed.
Yeah,
But that money
but
is not a. 1 second, George. That money isn't a quick fix. If you look at their team, look at the players they've got. A lot of them are under 23s or that sort of, not even hitting their peak yet. They've spent big money, yes, on Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo, and that's where sort of a large chunk of their money have gone in terms of buying those two big players. That it's kind of a mixed bag. They'll have some good games, some bad games, but the rest of it's a lot of youth players, and they've spent. And some of the players that they did bring in the initial wave, they have sold on, and they've brought in some good profit. They've sold on Mason Mount for 60 million. They sold on Kai Havertz for 65 million. They sold quite a few players, you know. Mudryk maybe hasn't come. They have spent poorly in terms of spending high value. I feel like the transfer market's so broken that sometimes you do have to spend certain amounts if you do want to get that player, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But for Chelsea right now, it's a slow process, and it's not going to be instantly. I think if anyone thought, well, realistically, I did predict them top four, but realistic, I'm not a Chelsea fan, but realistically, if a Chelsea fan before didn't understand the situation in terms of that it wasn't going to be an easy season where they were just going to be back in amongst it straight away. It is going to take time and process, and I feel like next season is more of a time to really judge them when Pochettino's got his teeth more into the job properly. But for now, I feel like yes, we can say they have spent $1 billion, but it hasn't bore the fruits yet, and I think it's still an early time to say if they've failed or not. I think for now, people can say yeah, they have failed, but they've bought youngsters. They haven't really bought anyone who's in that 25 to 28 bracket where you'd say, all right, they're a proven player. They need to get the ground running or something. A lot of them are just youngsters and youth players. So I wouldn't say too much on that in terms of that situation. Go on.
I mean, you're looking at it realistically, and I think the problem is the players who've it's the players that have been bought and the circumstances surrounding the purchases, I think, which are more of a problem rather than how much has been spent, is my point. Because we've bought players, some of whom didn't even want to come to the club. And realistically, you've got a man that made these decisions that basically doesn't know what he's doing. So, yeah.
Remember, they've been playing together since July, pretty much, and they're still trying to learn each other and figure each other out. This is a new team that's trying to gel together. They've had some good performances and some good games, but they will have mixed performance. It will be up and down and fluctuate. But they are still young, they are still naive, and they are still trying to figure it out. I think they have got some real, like, some talent on their hands, but it's just not going to be. It's going to be a painful one to watch. It's never going to be an easy, quick fix situation.
I think it's important to be realistic. Like, for me, I'm not embarrassed. I'm saying I'm hoping we get a draw against Everton because I'm realistic with what the situation is. And at the moment, I don't think as a Chelsea fan, I'm in a position to say, yeah, we'll win Everton. We'll beat Everton. We'll smash them. I think I'm being realistic with what the expectations are based on our form or, well, the inconsistency of our form. My realistic approach is we quite simply can't be, I know a lot of our fans will be because that's just some football fans that are capable of. Some fans will be cocky, but in my opinion, realistically, we just have to hope for the best result possible. And if at the moment the best result possible against a team like Everton is a draw and hopefully maybe a narrow win, then I think that's what it has to be. Taking the money aside, you're looking at the form currently of a club. That's just what it is. And I think realistically, that's the phase Chelsea are at the moment, where you look at the teams around you and we're not in with the big boys at the moment, and whether that's because of the players we bought not working out, whether it's because something else not working out, whether it's us not having the right players, which is most likely the case in certain departments, That's the way it is at the moment. And yeah, we spent £1 billion. I mean, I've been hearing that every week. It'd be nice to hear something new, but hey, that's going to be used against us probably for the next billion years because of the owner we have who thrown money at the problem rather than thinking strategically. And I think that's my bigger issue. It's thinking with your wallet rather than with your brain. But there's owners like that. Unfortunately, that's just what happens. The problem is a lot of Chelsea fans. Some of them ask for it. Some of them genuinely don't ask for it, but still get it in the neck for it. It's not the Chelsea fans' decision to spend that money. I think there's some realistic Chelsea fans that probably are fuming at the way the last few transfer windows have gone. I'm certainly one of them. I did not want to see £1 billion spent. I would rather buy less players, but more players that could give us a better chance at least of doing something. That's what I would have liked to have seen rather than what I have seen. But hey, what happened. It's just, yeah, I think it gets tiring when the same argument gets thrown at you every week pretty much, and it doesn't really, it's just numbers at this point. George, we'll come to you. What's your thoughts?
I will, obviously, because I want to be able to have my to say back to what has all been said. Yeah, it might get tiring with the numbers, but I'm sorry, you have to expect that from other club fans. You have to expect that. And Abdi and Nick, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, because obviously it's coming from a different perspective. Some of your players that you've spent shitloads of money on do deserve to be called out, because all you hear all the time is Arsenal and Man United hear it every week. Oh, well, they spent 72 million on Pepe, or they spent it on Sancho. What a failure, all that. So people like Enzo Fernandez, which you spent 100 million on, and he's been there longer than since July, unless I'm wrong.
January. He came in January.
Well, it's still
right at the end. February, because it was right at the end.
What I'm trying to say, what my point is, you can say, oh yeah, people will say, oh, you spent £1 billion. Yeah, you have. Man United have had that for years. I'm not a Man United fan. They're not in the top of my four. Man, how many years have teams said, well, Man United have actually spent over 600-700 million and got nothing to show for it?
What? So Man United spending was more strategical though than ours.
Really? Where? What? How? Where? If that's strategical, then I need to go back to school, because there's no strategic there at all, mate. That's up there as bad as probably Chelsea. Chelsea have more strategic market value than what Man United. And I've not come on here to have a dig at you, United, Abdi. I'm just saying it straight off the cuff.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far either way, but
but Chelsea are going for younger players that they think can bring. So
they are, yes.
Later down the line, they haven't got to spend all that money on. Man United didn't do that. And what I'm trying to say, and you might get fed up of older £1 billion this, £1 billion that. Yeah, but you're not the only team that it's happened to. It might seem like that at the minute, but all I'm saying is when you're playing bad, and I'm not saying you have to say, oh, well, we should batter Everton, but just to be saying, and then you're not the only Chelsea fan that's saying, oh, well, I'll be happy with a draw. That's not the Chelsea of, say, 3, I don't even know, 3-4 years ago.
We're not the Chelsea of 3-4 years ago.
No, but you're still a big club, mate. The players
Georgie,
you've got are Champions League
I do have
players.
a question for you, though. I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
You do remember when you were sort of in this position with Arsenal a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and if you were going Goodison Park, and you were sort of in that form where you're watching a team and they'll be wishy-washy, wouldn't you say you'd be happy with a draw? If it just meant, notoriously, you haven't had the best record at Goodison Park either, so it's one of those ones. When you're coming up against a team that don't have a good record at their ground, and you're already in a sort of wishy-washy form away from home as it is, then afterwards it's a different story. But if it's at home, you fancy your chances more because you're at home and you probably think that you'd be more up for it and you have the crowd behind you. But when you're away from home, it's more of a different atmosphere.
I get that, and people are not going to agree with me, but I think and I'm not just saying it because it's Arsenal, but I think and Hubert's not going to like it. When you have a squad of the value that Chelsea have, and you're where you are, like, let's be real, take Everton's 10 points deduction away, they'd be above Chelsea.
I was going to say
Like,
that actually. You
so
took away from me. You thief.
what I'm trying to
They'll
say,
be 10. They'll be 10 and then be on 20 points.
Arsenal were atrocious. When Arteta first took over, I've seen back-to-back 8 finishes, but no way near did we have the squad value and spend that money what Chelsea did, and it has to be spoke about. Like, I know it'd probably get annoying to me if I was an Arsenal fan. Sorry, if I was a Chelsea fan, like, but it does have to be spoke about. Like,
I
how do you think Man City fans feel? How do you think those real Man City fans feel? All they hear every week is about 115 charges.
do think that's the only thing that does get brought up, though. Like, I don't think
But what else?
people have.
Bring up?
I don't think people have to have like a more in-depth conversation beyond the billion. I feel like
That is
people
my
need to
point.
sort of
But that's
go,
because
like,
Chelsea
the billion
fans
is one
are
thing, but
defensive.
I know, I get it. I'd be defensive too because I'd just be like,
Yeah,
dig deeper into the issue. There is more of an issue than
but
just
if they
the
had
1
a
billion
whole,
getting thrown at your face. Like, people said that, you mentioned it just now. People say that about United, 1 billion spent in 10 years or something like that. And then afterwards, what have you got to show for it? Nothing. But you got to dig deeper into more of the issue of the situation, how
no, I agree.
chaotic the background is, and how messy it is, and how unstable things are. But for Chelsea, their strategy was to buy high value players. For a lot of them were young, low, like not high price, like maybe 20, 30 million. They bought a bunch of those. They bought Caicedo for 115, Enzo for 120, Mudryk for 100 million. Those are like their 3 big marquee, high profile signings that they bought that didn't. Well, Enzo, I'd say is working out so far. He does have the odd game where it doesn't work out too well, but Caicedo hasn't looked the same as he has at Brighton. Mudryk, he's still someone to sort of. I'm still, jury's out. I'm just saying, wait and see. I'm not going to write him off completely.
I think Modric has
People can
glimpses.
tell-
I've seen Modric.
He
has
does.
you
He
know.
does, and I won't completely write him off. As much as people could just say, "Oh, he's done. He's this. He's that." Maybe, but I still think you need to give him more time to see what he can do. He's still young. A lot of these players are still young, and they'll learn, they'll grow, and they'll build. Maybe it might be Mauricio Pochettino. Maybe it's just not working with him. I don't know. Maybe he's not a fit for this group. I don't. We'll have to wait and see. I still think it's just early doors and teething problems at the moment.
I just, like, before it goes off into something completely.
Yeah,
What I'm saying with the 100 million, 100 or what, a billion, whatever.
1 billion. Yeah.
If, and I'm not saying a dig at you, Hubert, so please don't take it personal, but if Chelsea fans didn't get so defensive straight away and actually had conversations with people, like an in-depth conversation, I don't think the money would be thrown at people, be thrown at Chelsea fans so easily and so quick. But it is a thing, it is an aspect that you have to think of going forward. If a team spends loads and loads of money, they have to face some sort of criticism. Manchester United have faced it. Arsenal have faced it. Newcastle will face it. The only team I don't really hear is Chelsea, and then all I hear is, "Oh, well, they've spent $1 billion, and that's it." I can imagine. I can read the newspaper articles now. If Ten Hag or Arteta went and spent, well, we got done it last season as an example. We spent all that money, and they said we bottled the league. Like, and that's all I'm saying is that if Chelsea don't get into Europe this season, then that's a failure from top to bottom for me with that squad.
To be fair, I'd agree with that. I think it will be a failure, I think, because the whole point of progression would be to finish better than we did last season. And I think aiming for Europe, I'd say even if it's not top 4, which is not going to be realistically, I don't expect top 4.
I meant like conference, like
Yeah.
conference. And I don't actually have an issue with Chelsea. Some of their fans were a bit, you know what I mean, but cocky. But that's what happens when you win trophies. Every fan that supports a club that wins trophies get cocky.
Well, every club has these fans.
Like,
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and I know it sounds thing the first thing I mentioned is the money, but it is something. If you can separate yourself away from it, it is something that needs to be spoke about. Like it don't have to be spoke about, but it's an aspect. Like Sancho gets all the time, all the money, how much it costs. I imagine if Declan Rice didn't do that great, you could imagine the stuff. And I think Casado's a lucky boy, mate. Like he ain't faced any criticism in
I'm
the media,
surprised about that, actually.
and that's 100 and whatever. Like I'm glad we went for Rice instead of Casado, and I get it is frustrating for you fans hearing, oh fucking hell, they're on about the money again. But I just think I don't even know how to explain it without sounding rude, but you can't spend all that money, whether you've bought the wrong players in, and people not comment on it, and then finish 10th.
So, what's your prediction for Everton then?
But I do think you'll beat Everton.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought I'd be nice here because I kind of laid into it about Chelsea. So I think Chelsea are going to want to bounce back. Everton I know what you were saying about yourself being inconsistent, but I think Everton can be a little bit. I know they've had a couple of decent results, and it's probably this deductions united them all against the rest of the universe. But yeah, I don't know, 2-1 maybe Chelsea. Nick, I hope you ain't fell asleep over there. We ain't
No.
forgotten Newcastle. Don't you worry, mate. I've not
Newcastle's
forgotten
coming up.
Newcastle.
Newcastle's coming up.
You thought Chelsea was bad, Nick.
Well, I've got a few questions on Newcastle. Mainly, you said. Well, we'll move on to that in a minute. Nick, your prediction. What do you think's going to happen? Everton, Chelsea.
Thought he was asleep for a while.
I feel it's Everton will want to perform in front of their home fans because a lot of the good results and performances have been away from home, bizarrely this season. The previous 2 seasons they've been awful on the road when they've not been a Goodison. So Chelsea want to bounce back. Well, what Chelsea want a bounce back from defeat against Man United. And then they want to play well and obviously take the chances because they need to. And I'm gonna go for Chelsea to win 2-0 on that one.
Alrighty, we will now move on to.
I'm gonna give my prediction.
Oh yeah,
That's fine.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I will say. I hate to go against grain. I think it will be Everton 1-0 potentially.
Okie dokie. Now we will move on to Newcastle. Nick, I've got one fundamental question for you first before we move on to your prediction for Newcastle Tottenham. My question to you is, why do you think you've lost to Everton on Thursday? What was the reason that you lost the game? Apart from obviously,
Go on, Jurgen.
Regarding to Everton last night, I actually did watch the whole match, and for most of that game it was very even. Both teams had chance. There was chance for both teams, and they just didn't take them. What cost Newcastle was 2 slips by Kieran Trippier, which gave the ball away, and that resulted in the first 2 goals. And then Newcastle trying to throw players forward to try and get back into it at the end, and then they got caught out on the counter-attack. So that was the reason why they lost. If it wasn't for those things, it would have probably been a draw. So that's the reason why. Moving on to Sunday. Moving on to Sunday against Tottenham. I think Newcastle will want to play better than last night for definite. They'll want to react they want a positive reaction. Because when they lost to Bournemouth, they came back and beat Chelsea. So I'm hoping it'll be the same thing, and hopefully they'll play well and beat Tottenham. And because we all know Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Newcastle.
Okay, then. Well, based on the things I heard from you, George, in the WhatsApp group and even before the FPL show yesterday, go on, let's go.
Oh, mate, you couldn't have into a better team. Oh, Varcastle United. That's news on me that it could have been 0-0, but you got battered 3-0. Okay.
It's a strange way of saying it. It could have been 0-0, but it wasn't.
No, you got humbled, mate. You got humbled by a packet of sweets. I know Newcastle and Nick did mention, it's because of the injuries. Yeah, everyone's got injuries.
Have Newcastle had the same injuries when they beat Man United?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
No, but if it was a yes, then the point is simple. If you had the same injury situation, then how comes you could beat Man United but you can't beat Everton?
I suppose beating Everton away is not for everyone, though, is it? What is for me and Abdi? Hopefully, you join that club.
Have you played Everton this season?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, at the start of the season, I think.
Was it away?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got Everton at home last game of the season, I think. Someone
What
like
was
that.
the score? I don't remember.
Didn't you beat them
I don't remember
2-1?
that.
I think it was like 2-1, 2-0, something like that. It was one of the first games.
I'm gonna look this up.
Unless that was last season, mate. They all merged into
No, you
one.
definitely already played.
No, Everton lost. Everton won last season against Arsenal. 1-0 at home.
Everton v Arsenal, full time, 1-0.
No, that
September.
was seasons.
Trossard won. Yeah, Trossard won.
yeah.
No, this season. Trossard won it for you guys.
Leo DiCaprio, he scored.
17th September.
Yeah.
69th minute.
This seems like a long 69, like that. Anyway.
Yeah, it was Premier League as well. Yeah. You did win. Well done.
Newcastle. Yeah, I just it's an excuse. Like them lot down the road, they've got loads of injuries and they're moaning about it anyway. But like Arsenal got injuries, Man United ain't had the back four for about 7 years.
Yeah.
Like they've had to. Like I was hearing that Steve Bruce might have had to come back to actually play, not to take over from Ten Hag.
Mate, if we could get a prime Steve Bruce in that defence,
I'll tell you, mate.
Hell yeah, bring it back, bro.
Him and PJ. Brucey ball. So I don't know, mate. Like Newcastle, I just don't think they can deal with the Champions League. Like the Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday thing. I know they didn't play that thing. They're gonna probably crash out of Europe with a bit of luck and all. I don't know. They've just got really cocky, mate. Like I'd like to know where they've come from. I know. Once again, it goes back to money. Saudi have plugged all that money into them. As Abba would say, money, money, money in the Saudi world. But I don't know. Like I know they've got Tottenham in the battle for the Europa League spots on Sunday. It'll be an interesting game, to be honest. Like it all depends if Son's fit. I know he's doubtful, but I don't believe that. He's like Kane, mate. Like when everyone said he's injured, he could have heart bypass the evening before, and they say he's 25% and he'd still play. I do find it ironic when Nick says Tottenham get better than we'll go, but Newcastle seem to be getting a bit battered everywhere they go at the minute. I can see it being a draw, to be honest, and I'll be nice. Like, I feel like I've ripped shreds out of people on this show today, but Trippier, there's a reason he's got Trip in his name. Yeah, he was awful last night. I'm gonna go. This is hard. can't stand both teams. Who's the referee?
Who's referee? Oh, I can find out.
no, I'm gonna go Tottenham to Newcastle 3. Oh, that hurts saying that. But
Ooh.
just to add it, all Nick's FPL assets, if he's got them, will probably get sent off. So just to add to that. Good easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be an easy game for either team, but because Tottenham are going to want to bounce back, and then
Chris Kavanagh, I believe.
Okay, Chris Kirkland.
Chris Kavanagh.
Oh.
Actually, wait, you know what? No, sorry, I was right. Yeah, Chris Kavanagh.
Yeah, and then obviously Newcastle are gonna want to bounce back as well. I'll quickly just talk about Tottenham. That weren't a good result for them last night either. 1 point out of 15 now. Broke the record. Even Mesut spoke about it. So
I saw
that's not a record you want, is it? Winning 1-0 and then 5 games on the trot.
Spursy.
But it's the way they play, mate. It is the way. It's just the way they play. And I was really happy to see it. I heard Richarlison's back, so everything's good in the world. Like I know we say about Peter with money, but what a waste of money that was.
I hope they kept the receipt.
Yeah, mate.
That was 60 million wasted by Tottenham.
Yeah, at least it's not 60 million down the drain. But anyway, but I don't know. Like with Tottenham, they've just gone off a cliff. Like Van der Bet, whatever he's Van der Ven. Keep going on Bet.
That's the one.
And James Maddison. It just shows how big they are. And I said to someone, I think it might have been Abdi. To me, James Maddison's the new Harry Kane.
Pretty much.
And what I mean by that, he's not banning in the goals like how Kane would. But the way Tottenham tick is because of James Maddison. It ain't because of Song. It ain't because of this. But it's Maddison. I just think it's so many excuses. It's all Jurgen-fied, isn't it? When they say, "Oh, well, I've got injuries," like just get on with it. That's the whole point of having a 23 or 25 man squad. Like everyone has the same issues, but this is where you see teams who don't have a squad that how they fail. I don't. Sounds mad. I don't even think Tottenham will get top 4 now. I honestly don't. I think Man United have got more chance.
I do think the Mickey Van der Ven is
It's a big
blow. It's a big blow because their 2 starting centre backs were out. One was through fault of his own suspension, but Van der Ven and Romero together was a very good partnership. That was working for them, and they weren't conceding as much. But yeah.
And I honestly believe this. If you ask me to be a betting man, that 4th spot, Tottenham, United, Newcastle, I'm putting all my money on Man United.
I don't like that. You're going bankrupt, mate.
That's right. I've only got £1. I've only got £1.50. But yeah, I think Newcastle. It all depends. If Newcastle crash out of Europe completely, if they can,
well, they can focus on Premier League only.
On the league.
Yeah, if they so they're gonna lose. If AC Milan win on Wednesday, then that will happen. But if Newcastle win, then they'll still be in Europe.
Okay. Well, let's hopefully Newcastle, like you end up in Europa League playing against Slovan Liberec or something. But that's where I think Tottenham. I've not really understood. They haven't really mixed their team up. Maybe it's because they can't, but they ain't had to worry. Like they went out the cup, didn't they, quite early?
Yes.
Lost to Fulham on penalties in the League Cup.
Something you can guarantee in life. But I don't know. Tottenham and Newcastle are a bit similar for me. Like Newcastle are just a Tottenham with money. Oh, there you go. There's your heading for the show. Newcastle, Tottenham with money.
What a statement, eh?
That'll get us viral on TikTok.
Okay, then. So Abdi, your thoughts? What's your prediction? What you
Uh,
going?
Sounded like you liked that, by the way.
Sorry.
You just sounded like you really liked that. It's like he was like, oh, he's gone for the knockout punch. It's just the
um,
noise. I was like, ooh, ooh.
yes, yes.
Like you've seen Joey
Um,
Barton on Twitter.
I don't want to talk about that prick. He's an absolute waster coming out of that utter wibble. Um, the game on Sunday, I'm looking forward to it, but unfortunately, I feel like Spurs, they are. I know George banners me and says, "Oh, you're a closet Spurs fan." All this, nowhere near, mate, nowhere near. But I won't be lying if I say that I didn't enjoy watching them this season in terms of their football. But it's suicidal. It is suicidal, and when it falls apart, it falls apart massively. And in the last few games, it hasn't been working for them, and that's because the people that usually plug those gaps are not there to fill them in, and they have been bless you, if that was a sneeze. Um, but yeah, Nicky, as I said, Nicky Van Den, Madison, big blows anyway, as it is. But yesterday, I thought they'd win against West Ham, and I thought
I
they'd be
just,
cruising. I was watching that game, and once again, they were just all over West Ham pretty much, and they were leading, but they just couldn't put it away for some reason. They had so many chances, but they just didn't finish it. I was like, you should be winning 3 or 4 by now, and it's like we're still 1-0, and they're in dangerous position. Then West Ham go up the other end and score, and it's 1-1. And then next thing you know, West Ham again, boom,
the
2-1,
goals
and
they
they
had though, the goals they had were basically made by Tottenham as well.
yeah,
Really,
they
really,
they
it wasn't done
Second
like.
goal was a total mistake, but the goalkeeper made an
No,
absolute howler.
I even think the first one, like Bowen pressurizes the goalkeeper, and like it's just defensive fray that he's like what they're not made by great football from West Ham.
no, and yeah, so it's just a weird one with Spurs at the moment. They
Yes.
seem to get that first goal, but just after that, the other teams just galvanized to come and come back and take the 3 points or a draw potentially, one of the two. And Spurs need to figure themselves out. But unfortunately for them, I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a repeat. I'm going to still see the same trend continue with them. I think Newcastle will win on Sunday. I don't think it'll be by much. I think it'll be close, but I will edge it to Newcastle because I think they are a more well organized team when they don't fall apart and do silly mistakes. Kieran Trippier, I'm looking at you. But for the most part, they are a well-oiled machine, and I think they could collect all 3 points.
What score prediction?
Score prediction
7.
7. No, 2-1.
Okie dokie. Well, that is the show. There we go. Packed show,
Long
jam-packed show, and well, there was plenty of action to talk about with midweek and the weekend games. We will be back on Monday to review all what we talked about. So yes, plenty of weekend games to go on. So hopefully you enjoy all of them, and do let us know in the comments as well your thoughts on the show, and we will be back on Monday to talk about the games. So go and join us again and tell us what you think of the games after they've been played. So yeah, thank you George, Abdi and Nick for coming on. Remember to come back and watch our Monday show. Alternatively, follow us on social media at Golden Goal TV. On Facebook, we have a Facebook group too, but we have obviously the Twitter and of course this channel. So like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and most importantly, the most important thing of all, press that bell icon to receive notifications so that if we start a stream, you are the first one there because you're in the notification squad. So yes, do all these things and we will see you on Monday.
Farewell.